First of all, just be good to find out a little bit about you and A Mind Apart.
Yeah. So I am Sheffield born and bred, and I still live in Sheffield, but I've moved around a little bit, lived in Brazil for a little period of time, went to Lincoln University. My social enterprise, A Mind Apart, came out of my university course where I was studying drama at Lincoln University. And we had to study it as part of a vocational module in the course. And that's where the name came from. And then I just kind of developed it further, came back to Sheffield and built it on that, really. So A Mind Apart is where fundamentally we're a performing arts company, but we're all about making performing arts accessible and using it for social and personal change. So everything we do kind of sits within that.
Brilliant. I know you, so you guys are a social enterprise, aren't you? I know you've spoken about not wanting to be a charity and being a social enterprise. So what was behind that decision and what benefits have you seen from being a social enterprise?
Yeah, so I guess one of the reasons I didn't want to be a charity was because I had a very definite vision with it and I was very clear on what I wanted. And one of the things at the time in 2008, when I was setting it up, one of the things I noticed was that a lot of creative organisations, especially performing arts organisations, theatre companies, were charities. And for me, it just didn't feel like it was sustainable. There was a lot going on within the Arts Council at that time. They obviously, the recession hit, they pulled a lot of funding that they'd committed and had to learn some hard lessons. So I really didn't want to go down that road with them at that point. So for me, it was about me maintaining some control, but also having the accountability from those that I was working with. So my board of directors are made up of people in the community and parents of young people that we work with. So it means then that I'm really accountable to those that I'm serving.
Brilliant. No, that's great. Brilliant. And what does a typical day look like for you? I know you're really busy with all the different projects, but what does a normal day
Depends what day of the week it is. So I don't just run A Mind Apart anymore. I do lots of other things, including I am network coordinator for Sheffield Social Enterprise Network. And that's quite a recent post, but before that I was always working as a consultant with social entrepreneurs and small businesses. So I guess a typical day varies. It might be not so much at the moment, but more before COVID, it might have been popping into the office. It might have been catching up on admin, doing the accounts, because I still do the accounts. And there's a reason that I still do the accounts, because I want to know exactly what's going on with them. And I think as soon as you pass that over to somebody, when you've already got your hands off the business anyway, which I tend to do these days, if you're not then up on the accounts, you can't be dealing with disasters like we've just had, for example, as easily. So I still do all of that stuff. So usually one day a week or a morning a week, I'll do that. Emails, I get a lot of emails, go through a lot. I get hundreds of emails. Like, I go on holiday and I come back and my inbox is like, what? And I have like 3 different inboxes for 3 different projects. And it's like, nightmare.
Another holiday to get over emails.
I love a bit of networking as well. At the moment, my days are really full with Zoom calls, partly because of the work that I'm doing with Sheffield Social Enterprise Network, because part of my role with that is to support entrepreneurs in the city and the Sheffield region. So I'm always on Zoom calls at the moment. So yeah, I'm turning technology off at night quite happily. It's quite enjoyable.
The laptop again, just close the door.
Yeah, when family and friends wanted to do Zooms, I've said no, not doing it. Come and see me or use the phone.
Brilliant. So apart from Zoom calls, what else has changed at the moment with COVID? What's happening with the...
I'm working from home a lot more, which I'm actually really loving it. And I've always loved working from home, and I've always tried to have at least 1 or 2 days where I work from home, because I find that I get more done, and then my staff are leaving me alone a little bit. And I think the more you're in the office as the kind of the head of the organisation, the more you're wanted. So yeah, lots of home working. I got the job with Sheffield Social Enterprise Network at the beginning of COVID. So starting a new job, in COVID and social distancing was very interesting. So I've kind of had to tackle that a little bit, and kind of been thrown into running online events and webinars, so I had to get my head around that quite quickly. For A Mind Apart, what's changed is we're not running face-to-face work generally. We're just starting to bring some face-to-face stuff back, one-to-one, but group stuff, we're not going to be looking at bringing that back anytime yet, because there's just too many restrictions within the performing arts at the moment. So we're doing lots of online stuff. So we've got a festival happening at the end of August where lots of freelancers have applied to run sessions for us. So we're giving a bit of work to the artists in the community, and we've, big family festival happening on our social media.
That's cool. I think it's important because the performing arts sector and the creative sectors have been hugely affected by COVID, haven't they?
It's horrific, yeah. I think for anybody working in it, it's just, A Mind Apart's been really lucky. But again, that's because I keep on top of the accounts and I am doing the accounts. So I was able to see very quickly and respond very quickly and put funding bids in. So we've actually managed to get security and get our education work secured, which also includes delivering online, which means we're not being forced to go back face to face yet. We've got that sorted until next year, this time next year. So that 12 months of grace is just incredible. And for the first time ever, I applied to the Arts Council and we got the money. So that, they covered us for 6 months. So that takes us to October. And then we've got the Youth Endowment Fund money, which is Home Office money. So we've been really lucky, but the sector as a whole is just, it's actually really sad to see when you've worked in it so long. Really sad to see.
Yeah, because I guess it's taken a long time to build it to the point it has, and then it just kind of seems like something's came and wiped out almost and taken away.
Yeah, but do you know what though, Mitchell? I think from people on the outside, it does look like that, but we were saying it from day one. Like, those of us working in it were saying from day one, if you do not do anything, we are not going to be here. And that's not an exaggeration. And I think, so we all knew it, we could all see it, because we all know our sector, we all know what we do as jobs and how it works. And I guess it's heartbreaking when the government, says, yeah, you can go to the cinema if you wear a mask, but you can't go to a theatre. Like, to us, there's no difference, because what the government is then saying to us is, we trust the film industry, but we don't trust the theatre industry, and we don't trust that you can redirect your shows to create social distancing within them and to be creative within it. Like, it's an insult. We're the most creative industry.
Yeah, I'm not disputing it.
It's an absolute insult. So yeah, and you can see that, I am really passionate about it, but like, there are others as well. Like, the whole sector is talking like this and is passionate about it, because we can see what's happening.
I think that's what you need, though, isn't it? You need those big voices to challenge things that aren't right and push for things, because if you just sit back and wait for everyone else to shout about it, nobody's going to, are they? So
yeah, that's it.
It's important.
Exactly, yeah.
We could talk about this all day, but I'm going to move on to the next one.
Go for it. Move me on. Keep me moving.
So, around social enterprises, what advice would you have to someone who's perhaps thinking about either a social impact company or a social enterprise? What steps do you think people should take if they're thinking about starting one?
So a piece of advice that I always give to people for it is to make sure that it's something you're passionate about. Because I think that, and I think this goes with any business, but I do think it goes particularly with social businesses, because, often they don't tend to pay as well, or we're not as good at the financial side as the corporate world is. So for me, you need to be passionate about it, because as much as you get that freedom to do what you want, which is where I'm at now, actually, I've also spent 15 years working really, really hard, and I didn't get married until I was late in my 30s, and so I think that's a big thing, really, when you look at it like that, and especially as a female, like, it's a massive deal. So I think you need to be passionate about it, because you're going to have to give it your all to make it work, and don't have kind of the the glassy-eyed eyes that go, oh yeah, it'll be really good. Like, no, Richard Branson's worked hard to get where he is. And even now he still has the stress. So I think there's that angle of it, and that doesn't mean don't do it. It just means make sure you love it. And then the other advice that I always give is we have a tendency in this sector to think that a social enterprise means no profit, and we seem to be a bit scared of that word. And actually, if you don't make the profit, you can't make the difference. And it's that simple. The difference between the profit isn't that you're not making profit, it's that what you're doing with the profit is different. So the profit's not going into somebody's back pocket and not making somebody richer. And I think for me, that's the difference. And that's the thing that if you're starting out, you need to remember that, because I learned the hard way, and I'm sure others have learned the hard way that have been doing it a long time, you know. And you need to get that pricing right, and you need to make sure that you're not scared of that profit word. Don't let anybody tell you different. Charities can't make that sort of profit, but you're a social enterprise or an impact company, you can, you know.
Yeah, it's an important distinction. I think that's when you mentioned earlier about the difference between charity and social enterprise. I think that's one of the biggest differences, is you have that control over that, and people shouldn't be scared of profit, because more profit equals more impact in a lot of cases. So
yeah. And also there's, you know, the kick share model, you know, with the community interest company, you can have two versions of it. So you can have one with shares and one without. There's nothing wrong with putting some shares in there. The difference between that and a public company with shares is that they're limited. So, you know, the percentage of how much shares you can take out is limited, but there's nothing wrong with that. Why shouldn't you get some shares? Yeah. You know, why shouldn't you get a salary? Like, you're doing the hard work. You need to pay your mortgage and your food, put your food on your table. And I really learned the hard way on that. And especially because I'm in a sector that doesn't, you know, performing arts doesn't pay, the third sector doesn't pay, and education doesn't pay. So all free.
Great idea. No, it says you're doing well now, though. You've obviously, the sacrifices have paid off, and the impact that you're having speaks for itself. So
yeah, I think but I mean, it's not come without its challenges. And so, for example, I think I'm a super rare case during the COVID, because we were actually at a very difficult position in the last year with a mind apart, and we were really looking at what's our future, and really looking at it seriously, because we'd taken on some local authority contracts that we've had for years, but actually over time our local authority just haven't been paying us enough. They don't pay what it costs to run the service. So it started to bankrupt us. And you know, I was constantly playing catch up, constantly, and that, when you're doing that for a few years, that's really tiring. And then kind of we put a plan in place this year, and we'd got it on, it was going to be fine, and then COVID happened, and it was kind of a bit of a blessing in disguise for us, because what it meant was that we sat back quicker than what we'd intended to. So we'd intended to stop about now, but actually we stopped in March. Which then just gave me the chance to sit with my staff and say, right, actually, what do we want to do? We changed all the pricing, we changed everything. And, you know, I've now gone back to the local authority and said, right, what you were paying doesn't pay, so I can't deliver. This is what I can deliver, and this is what it costs. So you either take it or you leave it. And they've said, okay, we'll take it for now, because they've got no choice, you know, because otherwise they're losing a good education provider in the city. So I think it's about knowing when to challenge as well, but also kind of embracing the challenges, I guess, and not giving up within it as well.
Yeah, no, that's really important. That's really helpful, thank you. Last couple of questions are around about who and what inspires you. You've obviously been to a lot of different countries, so I'd imagine travel is a big inspiration, but is there anyone in particular or anything in particular that inspires you?
Yeah, so when I lived in Brazil, I lived with, or I worked and lived with actually, a vicar called Samaya. She was the first female Anglican ordained female vicar in Brazil, Samaya Meldrum. And she's kind of become what I call my Brazilian mum. So she's a really good friend, and we stay in contact. But do you know what? She's always been this massive inspiration, and I've always just looked at her and gone, she's incredible. And she set up a church on a rubbish dump and built it up, and she's completely transformed this community into what is now a flourishing community that used to be a rubbish dump with no houses. And now it's this beautiful community with houses and people living there. So there's her, and then the other one is, I quite like Richard Branson. It's a bit controversial, isn't it? I don't
I'm not
agree with everything he does. I don't agree with everything he does and he says. However, I do recommend reading his books. I do think his books are like, I really feel like in his books, there's a real sincerity in terms of the challenges that he's faced. And I don't think he pretends to have all the answers up to everything. But I think because he's such a big figure, like we tend to have this thing where we put these leaders on pedestals and then when they fail, or according to what we think, because actually he's thinking about his business right now and that's what he should be doing, but he's failing all us apparently, because as a business person,
I'm not commenting.
but so it is controversial, and I don't think everything he does is right. Like when he went back to the government the second time for more money, I wasn't happy about that. But I do think there's something about his journey that started in a basement in London and where he is now. So I find him very inspiring. And then the other person is Michelle Obama. I love Michelle Obama. She's great.
All day long.
It's great. She kept me going when I was decorating my new house last year. I had her on the audiobook and she kept me going until like 12 o'clock at night to get my house sorted.
That's like a story in it. So when you suddenly Michelle Obama got me through decorating my house. No, that's really cool. Thanks for sharing those. And going back to Rich Branson, there's no right or wrong answer. It's sort of inspiration because people find different things inspiring, and so no, good for you, sticking up for it.
I think I'm the only one.
So really, thank you for your time. It's been brilliant to speak to you. Just wanted to give you the opportunity to tell people where they can find you and Minor Part and all the other things you're working on. Yeah,
so I've got a website, jodiemarshall.co.uk. Jodie is spelled IE, and then amindapart.org.uk, and then for Sheffield Social Enterprise Network, ssen.org.uk. So so I'm sure you can write those links somewhere, Mitchell, for your listeners.
No, I will do.
But if you look for my website, jodiemarshall.co.uk, you'll get everything connected.
Brilliant. No, thanks very much, and thank you for your time.
Brilliant. Thank you. It's been great.
All right.